Hi guys, chance to see what we might have upcoming. Charlie and I have finished our unpacking of various different boxes we shipped to the States, and as well as my 15mm Napoleonics. The other thing we took a risk on was my 28mm American Civil War. It felt appropriate that we brought it out here, so we've just got all the figures out today and looked at the damage and the amount of work we need to do to try and recover them all, and give you an idea of some of the figures we might use as we play our upcoming games. So generally we found that the plastics transferred across really well. We didn't have the right storage boxes for these, so to be honest they were just crammed in some plastic really useful boxes, 2 or 3 levels deep. But being plastics, the great thing about them is, of course, that they just don't chip at all. So really very little work to do on the painting front to repair any of these figures from painting damage. We did lose a few bayonets, but actually we wedged the figures in so tightly and sort of interleaved them, sort of muskets up and muskets down, interleaving with one another, that we suffered very few musket casualties. So I'll need a bit of black paint just to sort of hide where some of the muskets are broken off. We probably lost 10-15 bayonets. When you look at the number of, we've got what, 40 battalions on the table, and that must be over 1,000 figures here, and losing less than 1% of them to bayonet damage is a pretty good result. The things that have suffered badly are the metals, so we got some nice figures here. These were actually Texan figures for the Tex-Mex War I did many years ago. I used them as Confederate cavalry, and those and their sister units on the other side of the table took a massive amount of chipping damage. They must have been in an unfull box and rattled around a lot against one another, so lots of paintwork needs preparing on those. We did lose quite a lot of cannons. The barrels came off, but hey, that's like a 2-minute job, so barrels have all been remounted. So all in all, pretty pleased how the armies survived the journey, and something to recommend plastics. I'm a big metal fan, I have to say, but in this case they've meant that we've got a good number of figures out here and we're playing a new period. We're going to use some of Dave Brown's rules, probably Pickett's Charge I think it's called. It should be quite similar I think to General Darnay, so we're going to play that. We did play some Black Powder in the past with the American Civil War supplements. I think I might have brought that out as well, so if we have, we might see some Black Powder games as well as the General Pickett's Charge games. What have we got here? As I say, we've got one inverted commas notional division here, 2 brigades, 5-6 battalions in each of the brigades. These are all of I think these are all New York units. We've got the Irish brigade here. Unfortunately, one thing that did happen, and actually this was before the storage, was an awful lot of fading of all of the flags. So those Irish ones, I'm sure, are a shade of green, and a lot of the reds in the Union flags have faded considerably. They were stored in one of my outbuildings and hadn't been out for about 5 years, and although the water had been kept out by the watertight boxes, I think the damp atmosphere had a bad effect on the flags. But anyway, we'll go with them as they are. So we've got one division of 11 battalions and another division of 3 brigades, each with 4 or 5 battalions in. So we've got 24 battalions / regiments of Union infantry, mainly regular sized battalions, some large battalions, but that's really easy to swap around as all of the figures on both sides are not specific uniforms for specific regiments really, apart from 1 or 2 particular differences. Other than the 24 battalions of line infantry, we've got 3 Union artillery batteries, this 4-gun battery, and then further on the other side of the table we've got a couple of 6-gun batteries, 1 Parrots, 1 heavy, and this 1 medium guns. We've got 2 units of Union cavalry here, and dismounted cavalry to go with them, and all the relevant commanders. So for the Confederates, no Zouaves on their side, although we do have one set of flags that allow me to convert one of the units Union units into Confederate arms if we choose to. We've got one small unit, including dismounted, of Confederate cavalry here and a 4-gun battery. We've got 2 brigades here of 2 regiments of Georgians and 4 regiments of Texans. Some of those Texan regiments are small because they are veterans. Then we've got another brigade of Georgians and a brigade of Alabamans. Again, a couple of large battalions in there, but as I say, I can swap the basing around and create whatever mixtures we want. But only 16 battalions for the Confederates, and another artillery battery. So the Unions, if we were Unionists, if we were Union troops, if we were to play all the troops on the table, would have an artillery advantage, an infantry advantage, and a cavalry advantage. But still plenty to play with, over 40 battalion of infantry, a few small cavalry units and some artillery. So I'm sure we'll have great fun playing these, getting some terrain out. I need to get some American Civil War buildings. I don't really have any of those at home. I do have a whole box full of traditional zigzag fences, so we'll get some of those out. We've certainly got trees and stuff, so I'm looking forward to getting some games on the table. Hope you enjoy seeing something different from our very Napoleonic channel. Perhaps I'll change my logo to something a bit more fitting for a couple of years. But I think you'll see a fair bit of this as I'm hoping to really enjoy these rules. All right, see you all soon for some gaming. Cheers.